Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you in another video. All right, so I ain't made a therapy session in a couple of days, man. I've been away trying to keep up with the Lakers schedule, of course. Yesterday I was wiped out. I don't know what was wrong with me yesterday. After I finished eating breakfast, I was just not energetic at all. So, I was telling myself I can go out and walk around since I have a day off as far as the Lakers schedule. But I'm like, nah, I don't have it today, man. My body was sore and all that type of stuff from the workouts. I'm just like, man, let me just go ahead and get that daytime nap that I've been needing. I didn't get much sleep the night before that, so it was like, all right, let me just do my sleep thing and then get up and work on a playlist. So that's what I did. A very good playlist was made yesterday, Delicity 409. In fact, today's Delicia's birthday, so happy birthday, D. Yeah, I think that playlist is good. I actually listened to it twice, and that's not something I do very often. I listened to it on the headphones, and then right before I went to sleep, I just had it on my phone. I intended to only play a couple songs, and I let the thing play all the way through. So it was definitely a good one, 409, for a lot of different smooth vibes and stuff like that. I really enjoyed. So yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. Just listening to my body, listening to my mind. I made art last night, some pretty good pieces as well. I think the piece that I made for the CD was also very good. So it was a good whole setup right there for me. And I was into it. I don't gonna say I was my best art, but I was into it. At the end of the day, I was trying my very best to challenge the line with the music and let myself just flow with it and see what came of it. So I thought it was some okay pieces for art, but the CD art was definitely the most important part of it.
Who's gonna pay for your art?
And so, yeah, man, I think all in all, I had a good day yesterday, even though I didn't leave the house and would have liked to. I made up for it today by getting out and doing a little grocery shopping and stuff like that. So, game starts at 5:30. I got time to do everything I need to do. And so, yeah, man, that's what's going on. But aside from that, ain't a whole lot to it, man. A lot of playing, as usual, exercising. I started doing balance squats like I used to do at Linux. I had figured out that I could, kind of do one-legged, like mini, not squats, but like bend my knees and stuff like that with one leg and try to put my leg behind my back and like you pulling, getting ready to run, but kind of tipping forward and then just trying to balance. So I'm adding one of those. I started that about 3 days ago. I've been doing those and adding that to my overall regimen. So it's just, adding, trying to get in the best shape that this 40-year-old body can get in. And just let it be what it is after doing the work. So that's what it is, man. Just adding new stuff to push-ups and all that, doing all of that. Just maintaining and staying out of the way is what I would call this. A lot of stuff that's going on in the world, planes crashing. I saw the plane crash in Philadelphia. Prayers out to those people. The story there was pretty sad. It was a girl who had been given some life-saving treatment on her way home. And it's life-saving treatment only to die in a plane crash on the way home. It's just craziness. But, I pray for them people over there who are dealing with that. And, of course, the crashing D.C., which I firmly believe was done on purpose. They're blaming DEI. I'm not really sure what DEI stands for, but I know it's a bunch of programs and things that have to do with discrimination and stuff like that. I'd imagine were put in by the Democrats. And so it's a lot of unhappy people who are now taking office saying, we're going to undo a lot of that stuff. We don't believe in that. We're not acknowledging none of that stuff that individualizes our citizens. No Black History Month, no Holocaust remembrance, no none of that stuff. Because at the end of the day, if I'm being completely honest with you, it's just partisan bullcrap. That's all it is. The Democrats wanted this, we want it out. That's it. Is it petty racism? I would say absolutely. But it's not as simple as that. It's more so, let's step on the Democrats and anything that they had that they were making money off of, anything that they had that was ultimately about them, we'll get rid of. And so that's what I think it mostly is, to be honest with you. But petty racism, can't never rule that out. Petty, childish racism is what I think a lot of this is ultimately stemming from as it pertains to the minds of those who support this the most. No different than the ICE situation. That's just petty racism, but even more so, it's about the shift of power and those who are now in power trying to be the opposite of their opposite, so to speak. That's what I think is a lot of this So, you know, for me, I'm just like, man, I feel bad for the people who are affected by this overnight. It's a lot of people who are getting these programs going for themselves. And maybe the money wasn't going where it was supposed to go, because far be it for me to tell you the Democrats were worth a damn. They weren't. A lot of what it is that they had in place, it wasn't for the betterment of human beings. That's for damn sure. So does a lot of the stuff that they had in place need to be undone? Probably. If you know what I know about them, hell yeah, they probably had that money they were funneling back to their own pockets. So a lot of that stuff has your name on it. Yeah, it's for the Holocaust, this, for the black people, that. Yeah. But a lot of that stuff is probably going right in their little greasy ass pockets and ultimately to their master AIPAC, and we know that. So as far as opposites said, I could tell if Trump found some bull crap like that going on, I say undo all that shit. I really do. But at the same time, we don't want to align with that, because at the end of the day, it does feed the fire of petty, childish racism, for which a lot of what Republicans generally are about is about, allowing the majority once again to hold rank, and not necessarily considering the fact that those things were put in place because they weren't fair about how they went about hiring people a lot of times, because they were putting their own people in who otherwise may not have been qualified, but just keeping the people out that they ultimately didn't appreciate out of those circumstances, which is why those programs were in place in the first place. So now they want to remove those programs, talking about the same energy that essentially started the programs in the first place, which is a lack of fairness in regards to hiring practices and things like that. So it's like, if you're not going to acknowledge that no matter how you go about it, there's some unfairness being put in place in regards to how we handle it, and if you're going to slide on one side and just say, okay, this is what we're going to do, all you're going to see is people shift it back to what it was, and then we're just going to see a shift back and forth between unfair practices. You need to balance it out and say, okay, we're going to get rid of this, but we're going to insert something like this. We're going to acknowledge that maybe some people have been marginalized in this situation, but if we go back doing things the way we're doing it, different people are going to be marginalized in that situation. So it's just like, at some point in time, we got to understand that as long as we're looking at it as us versus them, us more important than them type of conversation, you're going to always have unfairness in the practices based on the superiority complex of the people involved. Supremacy leaves for others getting treated poorly, and while the Zionists are running our country and they live by that type of thing, I don't think that works for America, and it hasn't worked in regards to our social gatherings and keeping the peace amongst ourselves. The civil rights movement was in place, creating a disruption for the majority to have to react to, because unfairness was in place based on how we were treated since we were brought over. And then from there, just us being tired of the poor treatment and being asked to work for little to nothing and not having fair practices placed upon us in a million different ways. So it's like, if you're not going to acknowledge that's the problem, then we're obviously going to have to revisit some of the practices that ultimately got us what it is, that ultimately made it so that you saw the wisdom in acknowledging us. All the different movements that have long since been put in place so that people won't be on top of one another in regards to race. And it's like they're trying to undo all of that. And you're going to see more problems come from that in the future generations if they undo all of it. That's basically what it comes down to. It's like we're not learning from the past. So we're destined to make the mistakes of the past. So it's just, it's really tough, man. I understand people who've been pushed away in one side or another. I don't doubt that there are some legitimate claims that people didn't get their jobs because they weren't the right color for whatever reason in both sides of the situation. I acknowledge that. But to blame plane crashes on DEI practices because the people who were put in place might have been people of color, for which may not have deserved to be there because of the DEI program or what have you in place, is it's suspicious. Donald Trump needs to understand how suspicious that looks to the average person who's looking at it from my angle. Hey bro, you trying to tell me you sacrificed those people so you could say this? Because that's exactly what this looks like to me. And y'all killed them people so that you could run back and say, see, this is why this happened. Like, no, this happened because you wanted to kill those people so that you could justify what happened. So it's like, that's what Donald Trump needs to understand, that he's not low, man. You're not low, bro. You think you low, but you ain't low. And we've seen this movie before, which is why the conspiracy theories are running amok in regards to what happened to those people. Do I believe they were sacrificed for this purpose. Yeah, I think it's multiple purposes. I don't think they just did it for this. They probably did it for a million different reasons that all come together. But at the end of the day, I definitely think that was murder. And if we're doing the math, then we'll hold whoever accountable for doing it. We won't just let it sweep under the rug like so many other circumstances that everybody can look at and say, yeah, that didn't look right. And so this is one of them situations where it's like, it looks so bad that I believe there's somebody hold accountable for that. And I'd like to see in my lifetime it be done. You know, I'm sick of living in a world where people could do stuff like this because they're in power. And nobody's supposed to say anything because it looks so improbable. This stuff is happening. You know what I'm saying? And when we look back in the past and see things uncovered in that same vein, it should leave more credence to the idea that these things take place. We know they smeared people in the past when they didn't like what it is that they were liberating within the minds of the people. We know that. You know what I mean? So for us to look at situations today and not see the government being potentially guilty of certain things, and I'm, as somebody who's been paying attention to the Palestinian-Israeli situation, doesn't have the ability to say that in good faith to you all, that I don't believe the government has any interest in doing things that are just flat out unfair. I don't get the privilege of saying that. I'm not in the dark in that regard. I've already seen practices that the government is behind that are allowing for people to be killed, slaughtered like every day. So, you know, just for their policies and for their politics and ultimately for the funding and all of this stuff to go in the directions they want it to go. And so that's really what it comes down to. Human life to these people, both Democrat and Republican, is conditioning. It's about the condition of what it is that they ultimately want to do. Conditional is the word I'm looking for. It's conditional. Like, you matter if you're doing what it is that makes sense for us. If not, then you're just another person who passed away. Condolences. Like, that's literally how they operate. And so if they have to crash a plane full of figure skaters to make a point about what they want to do that's going to shift $50 billion or whatever the figure would be, they'll do that. They will definitely do that. They've proven that their morality works in that way, by way of what it is that they're aligning with in AIPAC situation and this Israeli situation. So, like, I'm not confused. Both sides of these people are awful. Both sides. The Democrats are terrible. The Republicans are terrible. Now, what lines of lies they're willing to stand behind, whose views they're willing to patronize to appear to be with the people, is the question. The Republicans want to go with the racist majority, and the Democrats want to go with the minorities and the gays. And I know I sound crass when I say that, but that's exactly what it is. And they'll stand behind whatever interest these people may have in a various moment so that they can appear to have the guise of the same morality as these groups. They don't care about your racism, and they don't care about black people and gay people. They care about making those who are lobbying, paying into their groups via these lobby groups, happy. And these 1%ers happy. That's what they care about. They care about the business of war, the business of profit, whatever that looks like. That's what they care about. They need the people to stay off of their backsides and to pay into the evil that they ultimately do. But really, it's about the few who have the leverage to hold them by the balls and hold them accountable for whatever it is that ultimately they doing behind the scenes, for which they likely have no business doing, or reveal some of those secrets that they're doing and nasty stuff that they're ultimately doing. If we truly reveal what our country's really about, it's about war, it's about human trafficking, like literally pedophilia. That's what they're actually about. If y'all want to know the truth, that's what the red, white, and blue really actually stands for. It's just the truth. And when you dig underneath what it is that they're doing, that's what you're gonna find. Alignment with people who will keep their secrets quiet and ultimately allow for them to continue to move their way. And so I tell the racist majority and my blacks and gays and Spanish people, they don't care about none of y'all. They don't care about what you care about. They just need you to think they do so that you'll continue to stay off their backside and pay into what they want you to pay into. So if they tell you it's those folks over there that needs to stay out of here to make you safe, if that's the bullshit you run around telling each other, that's the bullshit they're going to pay into. They're going to propagandize and have ICE running around doing all types of weird shit to make it look like they're just all about your racist bullshit. They're not. They don't care nothing about you. They just patronizing you, make you feel like you're more special than you are, just like they try to do to the people on this side. Make us feel like we're more special than we are, so that we will stay off their backside. That's literally it. They continue to work for them, continue to pay into all their evil shit, as they continue to sell our country down the river to the Israelis. Like, that's literally it. And if you look at how the Israelis and the Zionist supremacists behave, they always want to divide and conquer, smear people, and play the victim. That's it. So when you look at certain things that are happening in this country and you see that be the crux of what it is, then you understand that's who owns the government right now. That's how they identify victims who have to be aggressive and believe they're greater than everybody else and get to treat people poorly because of it. And they have the right to do so, and their people believe it, and that's the propaganda that's placed upon their people. So they run around with a certain mentality that they're victims and superior at the same time, which is kind of an oxymoron when you really consider it. So it's like, you know, that's the propaganda on their heads. That's the propaganda on their heads, man. I saw something I think a lot of people need to see. It's on Tubi. It's called Israelism. Watch it. Watch it. It's very, very free. So you ain't got to pay a dime for it. Tubi's free. Just download it on your phone and put in Israelism. It's about an hour and 25 minutes long. It's a good watch. I watched it about 2 days ago. Enjoyed every second of it. Got some insight, but not surprised. It's just, it speaks to the brainwashing. People got to work their way through the brainwashing of what's conditional, what they're conditioned for, is what I'm trying to say. And in Israel, they think they're the greatest, but also the victims. They're constantly defending themselves against somebody who ultimately they're better than. And then they have a right to kill those people, because if they don't, those people will come back and kill them. It's like a, you know, it's in their head. That's what they've given them for the last 70 plus years. So it's like, you know, it takes a special person to think their way through that stuff. It's hard. Just like it's hard for us to think through the cultures of our mind. You know, we got to do this, we got to do that. No, you don't. That's just what they told you are, so therefore you identify with it. You ain't got to do none of that. But everybody agrees, so I'd be damned if I left out. Human beings never want to be left out. They don't want to think for themselves in a lot of cases, so all you got to do is give them purpose, give them structure, give them something that they have to think they have to do in order to stay in the in crowd, and they're going to do it, whatever it is. And you just see multiple applications of this all over the globe. And in places where it is not, you see the West try to destroy and try to implement those things so they can control those people. So if you see people who don't align with that type of thing, if their society doesn't have that placed upon their head, the West is on the way. They coming to bring their freedom to them by way of the killing. Like literally. And then the religion. That's how that works. Until the colonizers have colonized up the entire earth, effectively placing propaganda of some sort on the minds of everyone in the world, and they can build as tall and as long and as wealthy as they can possibly get. That's the game. That's been the game. So what propaganda's on your head, people? What propaganda's on your culture? What have they placed upon your mind make you think is the most important thing in the world? Is it you? Is it money? Is it culture? Are you a victim? Are you a supremacist? Are you both? What do they got on your head? You know what I'm saying? That's how it works. So we just need to awaken the minds of so many while waking up ourselves. And once we do that, then we can kind of weasel our way around what has been applied to our heads in such a deep and messed up kind of way. And then we understand that nobody's more important than somebody else. You can't win wars by pushing people to the side and saying, hey, we the most important and cater us and nobody else. You can't win that way. That's manipulatable. And me selfishness is exactly how they divide and conquer. And they rupture your ego by way of whatever they have to do to your people to make you feel like you ain't been treated right. And then they come around, bring you a solution. You know, put your people's names on the basketball floor and, you know, have a little movement for about 3 months where it's rude to talk crazy about you. You know, it's like, it's all about you, friend. It's all about you, and it's all about your money. You getting your money and how important that is over all morality and all humanity. And them getting your money in regards to you being a consumer paying into all of their immorality. That's it, man. It ain't hard. The devil is not a creative. He keep on using the same stuff over and over and over again. And so that's really what it is I see there. And I tell people, man, that Israelism, that particular, it's two things that I think everybody should be paying attention to, or rather see in their lifetimes or read in their lifetime. Hebrews to Negroes and Israelism. I think everybody in the Western world, all over the Western world, should take about 4 or 5 hours out of their lives and watch both of those programs. That's what I think is pretty important to help us understand what controls the West. What controls the West is that. And the sad thing about people like them is if they weren't so damn evil and so damn wicked within their practices, they own to something because they found their way to weasel into every damn thing and they control every damn thing. It's pretty damn impressive when you consider it. They figured out what works. The problem is it doesn't work for everybody, so eventually it's going to be some revolting going on. And because they have these ideals that they're supposed to be killing people and that they victims and all that, just bring so much attention to themselves that they just sit back in the corner and just be normal, be peaceful. Like, they could control things for the next 500, 600 years, bro. They really could. But because they got these weird, what I call is it like a, it really is a self-destructive button, if I'm being honest with you. The idea that they're supposed to commit genocide against certain people, have to have certain lands specifically and push people out, and then those people suddenly want to kill them, but they ain't got no reason to kill them, even though you're taking everything from them and traumatizing them. Like, if they didn't have that weird complex about themselves, they would have everything under control for a very long time, man. But they're going to lose it all because of that complex, that self-destructive button that comes from just needing to do weird religious cleansings of and all this type of little small, spirit and energy. Like, it's just small. Like, they can't be happy unless people who are stronger than them physically feel under them mentally. It's like, it's a complex. You got all the power in the world. What's the problem? No, we're the greatest and they have to leave. No, they don't have to leave. You just have to shut up and just be powerful. That's literally it. You control the land any damn way. Why they gotta leave? Well, they have to. They want to kill us. No, they don't. That's a lie you believe. You're telling yourself that, and then you're giving them every reason to want to kill you, to back up the lie. I could say that I only wear white shoes, but if I don't have any white shoes, I can pretend the shoes that I have on is white. Don't mean the shoes is white. Now, if I eventually buy all my shoes white, then I will eventually be able to back up the lie I've been telling with the truth, because now I got it. But I can't run around telling everybody when I only own black shoes that I only wear white shoes and expect anybody to take me seriously when they see me walking around in black shoes. Just like, that's what's wrong with the Jews. That's exactly what's wrong with them. The Zionists specifically. But you know what I'm trying to say. That's what's wrong with these people. They got a complex about needing to live lies and believe lies. And while those lies drove them to power, they don't know how to turn that off so that they don't lose that power. Like, you needed those lies to motivate you into power. You need to be paranoid and focused enough and all these different things to rise above that for which is everybody else, so that you can get what it is you have. But now that same thing that drives you is going to make it so that you lose everything that you ultimately drove toward. That's what's wrong with them. They haven't evolved through the lie. It's only a motivated factor to keep you in positions of power. It's not something that you're actually supposed to allow to destroy your reputation in the world. You don't actually have to kill the Palestinians. You don't actually have to invest in the deterioration of all people of color. No, that's going to put a target on your back. It doesn't do anything for you keeping the power that you ultimately uphold. It's just a lack of evolution within their actions and their souls, like, literally. Like, that's what it is. The ruling class has a complex, and that complex is attached to a paranoid supremacy, bloodthirst, victim identification psychology of itself. It's pretty damn screwed up, if you ask me. that's how they move, though. And that's why they're gonna end up losing everything they have, man. That's why they're gonna lose it all. So, yeah, man, that's what I gotta say. Watch His Realism. Go check that out. I sat through it. I enjoyed it. I think it was great. It helped me a lot. Gave me understanding how much alike they are to the people out here. We don't believe the same things they believe, but the same application to put crap in our head is the same way that they apply stuff to their people. It's the same thing. It's just a different subject, a different point of view. For my people, they want us to think we thugs and have to shake our ass. And, you know what I mean? And we victims as well. And the identification that we're always going to be behind somebody, or we got to claw our way to the top. It's a mentality thing, you know, to place it upon our people. It ain't that much different. It ain't that much different. It's the application of some identity to hover around so that you behave the way they want you to behave. That's literally it. And then we liberate ourselves from it, and all of a sudden we're not bound by the things that ultimately put us in a position to have to see ourselves that way, and therefore play into the hands of those who need us to in order to keep paying into what it is that they do. It's got to grow as people, evolve, man. And I think how this story goes is going to help us do that. When we see what happens to those who are doing this, then we're like, okay, we're not going to make that mistake anymore. Unless they try to hide the history so that we're destined to make the same mistake over and over again. That's which they're doing in a lot of different cases. But that's not smart, you know, like, honestly, it's not intelligent. Well, we're going to erase the history. No, that's not smart, because there's a lot of lessons in the history. So, that's pretty much what I have to say, man. I'm exhausted of the world, bro. I've been here for 40 years, and I'm just seeing people make some really, really, really interesting mistakes. Have already been made many, many times before. And try to show people what I see there. That's about all I can say. Video 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.